Okay, perfect. So I think a few folks already confirmed that they can hear me. This is just to kind of go through the Verge product, the wallet. I think there were several questions, so I'm just going to start, writing down a notepad, and based on the feedback that given me, uh, I can show you the questions, what they are. And let me just close the background from the video. I'm just hearing myself again. Okay, so number one question was, how do we install the wallet? The second set of questions was, how do we sync the wallet? And how the security feature works. How to view the transaction. There was a lot of controversy about the IP addresses being exposed. And if you guys have any other questions, just send it over. We'll walk through them. I've set up two PCs here. One PC, my laptop, has the wallet already installed and synced. And I'm just going to go through the desktop that I'm going to RDP to, remote desktop to it, and walk you from the very start how to install, download the code, synchronize it. The whole process will take around 30 minutes. So hopefully it will give an idea to everyone. And then we'll send some transaction and validate the activities. So to really get the release is on GitHub. I'm actually using a Windows version, but I'm assuming it'll be very similar to the Mac version, and then I believe there will be a version for other Linux and flavors as well. So all you have to do is right here under Wraith release 2 version 2.0, download the zip file. This is pretty much quick. So while this is downloading, I'm actually going to start downloading the other file that I require as well, which is for blockchain. That will speed up the process as it's happening in the background. I'm just going to confirm the address here. So as you can see, I'm just starting everything from scratch. So that way, people who are starting that first time, they'll have idea how to do it. So I'm just downloading this one here, which is on the 31st. While these are downloading, I'm just going to show you the ones that I've already installed. So just will speed up. So as you can see, I've already have the wallet. I just reinstalled another version as well. There were some bugs that we can go through that was committed. And I think the developers continuously building new code, fixing things. So there'll be more features will be fixed. So currently the wallet has a section here, which is summary. There's a send section. There's a section where you create your addresses. This is one of the great features about this. So the wallet itself is not attached to a single address. That's also a feature. Then here's the send to addresses that you can keep track in from a transaction point of view. And you can download these transactions as well for bookkeeping. These are some of the stored addresses that you have sent money to, and you can define labels and you can delete them. This is and then here's the blockchain itself. If you want to decode a transaction, jump in. And then of course there's a whole section to download. They export the data of each tab. So let's say if you want to export this one, you click on this, you export there. You click on it. So once the wallet gets started up, of course, it takes some time. Then we'll connect to the network. As you can see, I have 17 connection. We'll go through it and synchronize the connection. So let's go back to the other version. I'm also going to check to see if there's any comments and feedbacks on the channel. Okay, so I see this one is already downloaded, so let's open it up. I'm going to extract all of them. Sorry, guys, I had myself muted. So what I've done is I've downloaded the version of 4. As you can see, this computer doesn't have a wallet address, has nothing. So I just started up brand new wallet. You can see the status is showing out of sync, and as you can see, no active connection. I'll keep it for a second just to demonstrate uh, connectivity and synchronization. I'm waiting for this file to get downloaded. This is very slow. As you can see, the server is extremely slow. It's saying that it's going to take about an hour to download it, but I'll try to see if I can expedite that download. I have another version of it here, and I can copy it over to that desktop. But I'll keep it here, but I'll go through the process once this is downloaded, what to do. So the documentation is very clear, at least for people who are technical, but folks who are not. So what it's basically saying is to download the latest blockchain file, which I'm doing right now. Then when you starting that first time, which I just did, it actually creates the files, the databases, the wallet that you require. What they mean by that is this. So if we go here and we go under users, and let's say myself, my app, I think that's the, let me just make sure it's right here, app data. So as you can see, the folder is called user, and then the username that you're using, your Windows machine in this case, app data, and then I'm going into roaming profile, and then there's the application Verge. So as you can see, it created all these files. So once you download this blockchain, the blockchain will and extract it. Let me go back to my other desktop to show you. It will look something like this. So the file that I download extracted will have exactly these. So all you have to do is you copy all these files and then you paste them to the folder right here. Now, one of the things that you have to be very careful, especially if your wallet has coins, because it does have your wallet.dat file, you should copy this somewhere on your desktop, keeping it stored so you don't overwrite or delete it. The other way is you can delete everything and just paste the rest of the information over to that. But ultimately, both ways will work, and I've tested it and validated it. It works. And once that is done, you've copied it over, you come back and you restart that application again. So the application that you're restarting is basically the same wallet app that I just restarted, just this one right here. When you start this application, now that you have a big blockchain file, it's not going to be as quick as the first time. So be patient. I timed it this morning. It took around exactly 10 minutes. So as every day the blockchain file is increasing, I'm guessing that time increases, but it's the first time, and after that, it's ready to go. So once it is increased, you should see the file running, and then you can able to send transactions and stuff. I'm just going to pause the video, mute myself, and I'm just going to look at the channels if there are any questions, and then we'll continue with the rest of the demonstration. Okay, guys. Thanks for the feedback. I guess we can move on. I'm still, as you can see, waiting for that download to complete. So while that is completing, I'm just going to explain a few concepts from the product, how it works. So first of all, the way this product works is your wallet could have several wallet addresses, and that's one of the features it has. So ultimately, you could have hundreds, thousands of addresses, and they could have different balances, and you could be sending money from different addresses to different one. But the ultimate balance on your wallet shows the collection of all of them. So if somebody, even we don't use the stealth mode and we don't block the transaction and we just the wallet address is given, they'll come into the blockchain, and let's say we take an example of this transaction that I did yesterday. Somebody comes in and looks at that transaction, and of course that transaction is on a public blockchain, because this is one of the key things. You do not want to take away the public ledger, transaction ledger, away from the cryptocurrency. And I think this is what the unique about this is. So there is a public ledger always available. Transactions can be validated and confirmed. So you can see this transaction was made from two people to that part of that hash. So this was the sender address, and this is recipient. So if I look at it, they're both two of my wallets, one is on my device, one on my laptop. So in here, I've received two transactions, as you can see, a 1 coin and a 10 coin. The balance of this is showing 11. The actual wallet on my phone has much higher transaction value. I think it's about 27 coins now that I moved around. But this does not indicate that value. So this by itself is a single address and entity. I could decide not to use this wallet address anymore, and that's what it is. So one of the uniqueness it does. Now, if I go back to this transaction again, and I look at the source that it was sent, the source will also show you that two transactions was made. So I actually sent $1 from my wallet, and I sent it back. So you can see first it received and it sent. The balance on this is showing 0. So again, if I look at my actual wallet, and we go to the main page for the same wallet, it's 1.6. So that kind of demonstrates you that the values informations that are shown only is part of my one addresses. So you can see I have several addresses in here combined. The address that you're looking at is, I believe, is this one, which I demoed yesterday in that video I posted. Features. The second set of the features it does, it integrates with the Tor network to an IP network to kind of back in your IP addresses. So let's say if you're sending a transaction and back, nobody would know the source of IPs. And the white paper explained this in very detail, how the transaction goes through those networks, how the IPs are maintained. So there's a web page. I'm not sure how valid this is. This is the site that I confirm. Doesn't show all the transactions, but sometimes it does few. Technically, it should show all of them, but let's see if I can still find these transactions again. And you can see it clearly hides the IP addresses. One of them are showing from India. Okay, so it's able to see one of them. So you can see this is the transaction, and it's actually showing somebody from an IP address of this and then. And I can assure you I'm not in India, and that's not my IP address. Okay, since we're live, I cannot share you with me IP address, but I can tell you I'm in Toronto, Canada, so that's not my IP address. So that feature is working. And then, of course, that's a transaction that I just, we did yesterday. Now, I think that whole site is synchronizing because it's not showing every transaction. I tried to check for the second transaction yesterday. It was not there. Let's see if it's there today. You can see it's not there. So I'm guessing somebody has sniffing the network, probing, and trying to find those IPs. So that's also working. Okay, so that's the second set of the features. All right, the third set of the features was the stealth mode, that this is all the FUD is going around and people are complaining around. So I know the white paper talks about having some sort of a check or blue button or box to do that. But I think the way they implement it is when you're creating your new address, you can define that address to be on a stealth address or not. And in the background, they're not explaining this. And this is, again, guys, this is based on my observation, noticing how this works. But based on my observation, I think when you're checking this address in the background, it creates a stealth address on this side. And when it's sending transaction, it uses that address to send and receive. So then the whole blockchain is not there. from a GUI point of view, the transaction is visible. I don't know how that backend function is. So I've seen it on a debug window that, you know, creating, as you can see, I can create it, shows this. Of course, this address you cannot send and receive. I'm guessing it's the program has some mechanism to do it. I tried to do it. It gives me this error message, and I think this is the bug that has been, not this one, sorry. The error message is further down. And you can see they've also increased a lot of different commands in here now in this program, which was not available before. So you can actually list your addresses. You can move around addresses. You know, so for example, if I look at those accounts that I had, list addresses. Sorry, as you guys can see, I'm also new like you guys. List accounts. These are all the accounts that I have, and you can see the balances that I have in here. So, and then you can move them around if you like. So if you had an account you created for that specific transaction, then you can move that from one to another and delete it, or you can keep it. You can list your still addresses, which is a feature of that. And then you can see I created it. To create one in here, I use that get to demo. So this feature here, I don't see it happening on a GUI at least very well. But when I created, I did notice it here. It's the account. I haven't tested it sending it, but let's at least look at this feature so far that I was able to do. I'm not sure if you guys want me to send a transaction. I guess I'll do. I'm just going to pause it for a second again, just to make sure there's no questions. And then I'll send a couple of test transactions. You can see how quick it is, how fast it is, and we can double check the blockchain and addresses for them, what's going on. Okay, guys, so the blockchain file is still downloading. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Android wallet. I'm going to send a transaction over to the public, to my other wallet, which is on my laptop here. And then I will validate that transaction and see if that IP address is shown or not. Okay, so I'm going to use the receive. So I've created this one here as a stealth wallet. Again, to show it again, we'll use another wallet just to be on a So you click on new. You can call it anything you like. So let's call it new wallet YouTube live, and you just click on check mark here, and that should really do that. So that's the wallet right here, and this is the wallet I'm going to be sending the coin to, and then we're going to validate the transaction on the blockchain. So I have the on the other side, you don't see, I have my Android app. I just scan it, and I'm going to send one amount. So the Android that I'm using is also uses the Tor network to VPN in, so it blocks my IP addresses of source as well. So that way, both of these end-to-end, going through the same network from a transaction point of view. The transactions are usually quick once it is confirmed. The wallet, depending on the connection, sometimes the VPN connection could be flaky, but I had no challenge with it so far. Once that it's processed, I should see it very quickly here on a pending, and then we'll check the confirmation on the blockchain for it to function. Okay, as you can see, I think that is the transaction. There you go. It was very quick. Zero confirmation. So if I confirm this in the blockchain, chances are I won't see it. Let's just validate it just to be sure. And this is some of the folks were commenting yesterday that I didn't give it enough time to be seen. They didn't probably follow it. I did. I was just showing that there was no results right away. But of course, once it gets a confirmation, you should see it here. And I did give this also enough time to do it. But as I demonstrated earlier, this does not show all the transaction, because it's not, every transaction is not going to this node for processing. But let's hope if one of our transactions shows in here, like it did in yesterday's demo. I did 2 transactions, one of them showed, one of them not. Okay, so let's just see back to the wallet. So let's confirm if there's any processing happened to this. So you can see one confirmation already happened. So it should be in the blockchain already. Now, I've used many wallets, and I can assure you, none of them are so fast. I mean, the legacy and Ethereum, it takes 10, 15 minutes for you to send and receive. And this is not just between my personal accounts. I sent from my, public exchanges, and this is how quick it is. I think maximum ever will take is less than 2 minutes. So as you can see, the transaction is already available. Part of the hash, there were my transaction. This is actually, you can see the input address is showing completely different than mine. You can see the input address from me is not even showing in here, but the destination address is showing. The destination address that I sent to, here you go. As you can see, the balance is 1. As I explained this before, my balance on the actual wallet is not 1, right? It's 2.6 now. So certainly that gives you the peace of mind, and especially if you're a business, you're an entity, or you're somebody, you don't want your balances to be shown for you to be private. So it's there. And let me just make sure we have this confirmation a few times, and then we'll check that website again for the IP addresses. So we got about 3 confirmations so far. It's processing. Let's go here, refresh the page. Still nothing about the transaction. Let's make sure we copy it here again. And by the way, there's a whole detail here in put 1. You can see about the transaction exactly, the ID, what type of algorithm was it used, what public keys were used, hashing and stuff. So this information is available. Okay. Nothing. And I see this person has really put an update here now. client is not running. You cross that out. So it says now it's actually running. And okay, we still don't see our transaction, but we'll give it some time. Let me just double check if see the blockchain file is downloaded. Okay, almost there. So once this is downloaded, we'll go back to the first phase of synchronizing those wallets. Let me see if there's any questions or feedback so far from you guys. We're almost there, guys. I just double checked the transaction a couple of times. So it's definitely confirmed. I can see that the confirmation been done, and I'm not able to find it still on the blockchain. Okay, guys, just gonna unmute myself. Okay, so the blockchain was downloaded. As you can see, those files. I'm just gonna extract them into C, on my C drive here. Honestly, it doesn't matter where you want to extract these, because it's just gonna copy them over. But just we'll extract it for now. And once this is extracted, what we have to do is, which I mentioned, we follow again this guide here. This is I think perfectly fine. So I'm going to delete everything with the exception of just the wallet file there, as it suggests in here, and I'm going to copy it over there. Okay, I'm not going to make a backup of this file. This is brand new. I've not done anything, but I would definitely recommend that you do that. Make a backup of that file so you don't lose any coins and stuff. So this is where what I was referring to. So I'm just going to take all these files that I have. Before you delete the files, make sure you do not have the application running. So I don't have it. I've closed it already. I'm just going to delete them. They're gone. I'm just going to wait for it to get extracted and copy it over. I'm just going to mute myself, and then we'll come back to it and then talk about it a little bit more. As you can see, the extraction is completed. I've deleted the old files. I'm just going to copy it over. Should take another, and then I'll start the wallet and we'll let it sync. As Okay, guys, sorry for that. The battery died. I just restart. The good thing is I was transmitting the file on the other machine, so it was completed. The overwrite confirmation was just for one of the files that I did not delete it, so I overwrote that. I've started the blockchain now. It's going to take about 10 minutes to 15 minutes, so we'll let it run in. We're just going to check the transactions one more time to see if we can find the ID in the transaction on the KEF website. So as you can see, guys, the program just loaded. It has most of the transaction till I guess last midnight. It'll take. I've noticed sometimes it takes right away connects, or sometimes it takes a minute or two. Once it connects to a connection, you will notice there'll be some transaction that it needs to catch up. So we'll synchronize. But while it's doing that, you can certainly use the wallet and stuff. But so we'll just wait for that to synchronize, and we'll start sending some transactions then. Sorry, guys. I always forget to unmute. I'm here with two kids, young kids, so they're watching YouTube, and I just want to make sure the noise is to the minimum. So what I've done is in the background, I created an address, with the check mark enabled. As you can see, I call it YouTube demo. I was just going to show again the address. So you can, again, this is a live address. You can check it with me as you are. So it's not a pre-recorded. That's the address. I copied the address just to make sure there's no spelling address. And then I went into my previous wallet, which is on another machine here. Let me just close the screen. And then in this wallet, I send a transaction to that wallet. As you can see, it did confirm me, and the transaction is on its way to confirmation. Also, you see that clock in here. That once it's check mark, it means it's completed. So certainly, the transaction went through. And this one is synchronized and collected. While I was just coming back, I noticed the other wallet also did got a connection. These connections build over time. So I have two connections right now. This grows in as you keep the wallet on. As you can see, my previous one is almost a full bar. So more people will download this wallet, you'll have more connections and more nodes, right? It's a distributed machine. So it will sync, and you'll start noticing it. It's out of sync right now. I'll have, like, my previous wallet had hundreds and hundreds of transactions. So depending on how far we're behind from the blockchain, this is going to start catch up to that. So we'll give it a few minutes anyhow. So that's what the wallet sending is. I'm just going to check the transaction in the blockchain. Okay, there you go. So you see now it's synchronizing with the network. You see on the screen it's catching up to, it's almost, 99.62% is done, because that's I copied over. And then whatever was done from midnight till 9, which is 6,500. In my previous update, I didn't time this, but I can tell you it was less than 30 minutes. So while we are on this live, we'll let it just going. We'll wait for it. And I mentioned before, this does not prevent you using the wallet. It just your recent transactions, your wallet, real data, but you can still send, receive. Can do the transaction as you feel. So we'll go back. We'll start checking that transaction. We'll see if the IP addresses are visible or not, and then it's also going to see if anybody has any questions on the live feed. Just going to mute myself, guys. Thank you.
Sorry for guys, we just joined in. I muted myself, that's why you're not hearing any voice. I'm just waiting for the new wallet to sync. Meanwhile, on the screen, I have a transaction. I'll try to validate to see if the IP addresses are shown or the transaction is actually visible, or this KEF website is catching it. So we'll see if the IP addresses is stealth. So far, we were not able to see any transaction. As I mentioned earlier, when earlier folks were joined, this is not guaranteed. You're not going to see all the transaction here. It's just because it's running another node. It's another Verge wallet running. It may not able to catch all the transactions. The best way to understand how this whole technology works. So if you go on Verge currency, right? Let me explain it. Let me just take a couple of minutes to explain this a little bit, because I think this is the most important part. A lot of folks probably have not read the white paper or the black paper. So technically, this is what we're trying to deliver, right? And we have demonstrated some stuff in this wallet that this product is being delivered for us. It's working. Uh, so complete anonymity and privacy and focus. So it does it in two ways. We have seen that the networks Tor and I2P and IP addresses are being completely untraceable, and that's what we're gonna recheck again. We've seen the ultra fast transaction. Like you notice, I sent a transaction, it was completed way less than 2 minutes. And then, of course, the full thing is decentralized. I mean, you saw the wallet syncing up, and it connects into others. And depending on how many more active connections happens, better processing. So this wallet been up for about an hour or so. So you can see it has full 18 connections. This other wallet that I built from scratch, and I built from scratch, and then I copied over the blockchain file from the website, from the blockchain website, which is right here again for the folks who have not been with us. So I'm just gonna try to recap. So you can, once you have the wallet. So let's take a step back. So we went to the repository of the GitHub releases, and we downloaded this zip file. The zip file was extracted to a folder. You can call it anything you want. You can even copy this to a USB key and take it with you. That's probably my way would be, I will just take this to a USB with me. And then when you're running it on a machine, in a Windows machine, it creates a database file, it creates a bunch of these files, which are located on your user file folders. Once you download that blockchain, as you can see in that blockchain, it has the database, it has all these transaction level. So this is the one that we copied over to that folder. So that folder is C users, the username, app data, and then roaming. And it could be roaming or local. In this case, I have a roaming profile. And then in here is where the application is. So Verge is the application. So this is the files that we replace. You can see when you first install it, this is certainly not 1.2 gig. This is the file will continuously increase as the blockchain database will grow. So you can delete everything in here, exception of your wallet address. And then once you copy that over here, and then you restart this application, which we have done. When we restarted the application will have no connections. So you can see now it has 7, and the number of connections will grow as more and more connections will connect to it. Then when it connects to the 1 or 2 connections that has up-to-date synchronized wallet or synchronized blockchain database, it will start synchronizing with that database. When I started this, we were almost at 99.6. We were behind around 6,000 transactions. So far, as you can see, we're behind 47,000 transactions. While this was synchronizing, it doesn't mean we cannot use the wallet. So what I did is I went. You can see these are different menus. You can send. You can use addresses. So all I went and I created a new wallet address. This is one of the another security features. Part of receiving and sending is you could have multiple wallet addresses for multiple transactions, and it keeps the information away from an overall wallet you could have. You could have a main wallet, and then you could have alias wallets. So let's assume you're a company XYZ, or you're an individual. Let's say, pick any famous person or a rich person, and you have a lot of these coins, but you don't want that to be publicly available, and when you don't want to show your transaction. So you can create new addresses wallets for that transaction. You could also create new wallets and transaction for purposes. You could have one for your mortgage, one for your rent, one for anything you can think of it. So anyway, you create that by clicking this button, or you can go through the GUI or CLI created. For the stealth address, there's just a check mark you have to click in, which we have done, and then it creates that wallet. Of course, same thing. You have a section for blockchain. You also have a section for recipients are sending money to. So as you can see, we haven't sent to anything, so there's nothing in here. So you can also have a list of all these different labels that you will create that you want to send in. So think of this in a banking and a web online banking, your payee list. So you can have a list of different bills or payees that you can create, and you can name them properly so you know what wallet is for what. So in this case, we did created an address, this one, and then we have initiated a transaction from my other wallet, which is also running the same version, which is this one here, and that's the transaction. As you can see, I did send around 12:09 Eastern time. The check mark here indicates there was enough bin confirmation on it, so it did broadcast over 8 notes and their 20 confirmation ID. And we take that transaction ID and we can validate it in the blockchain to making sure it's there. As you can see, part of that transaction hash, there were 2 transactions from 2 different sources to different destinations. So this is our destination address. I know just because of the amount. And you can see on that address, there's 1 token received and the balance is 1. And that's the wallet on the new device that we have installed. Now, in here, this website, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I'm guessing it's one of the nodes running and seeing the transaction. So if I run, my transaction is not on this yet, hasn't seen it. So we'll wait. Now, in my previous transaction, I think if I go to transaction number, I believe this one here, or maybe the next one, this is on this list, unless this list is deleted. Okay, right here. So you could see I sent this transaction, but the person capturing this transaction, it got a node IP addresses in India that proxied it and moved over to the network. So it will never find the origin IP address of us. And again, that's what these 2 networks, Tor and I2P, is supposed to do. It's supposed to provide you that, anonymity in regards to IP address. So nobody will be able to trace it either to your machine, to your wallet, to your IP addresses. Okay. Ultra fast, we have already shown that. And of course, the fact that you're creating different wallets, it also gives you that, privacy that you're looking for. So let's assume, let's go back to the transaction that the recipient. So this wallet that I send it from, as you can see, this wallet says only has 1 coin and has no balance. The reason for that is because this coin that I send this wallet, I created a completely brand new wallet, and I send that transaction with. So if I go to this one here that I sent, you see this is the transaction that I made, and I send it over here. But my actual wallet has a balance. In this case, of course, I don't have millions of Verge coins. I only have $1.50 Verge coin. But if you look at the transaction here, it doesn't even know what the balance is. So now for my next transaction, I don't have to use this wallet again. I can create another wallet, right? I can send another wallet, and that's every time it sends, a transaction, nobody knows who sent it and how it's happened. Okay, so if I look at that transaction right here, what's in here from this wallet, there is no money, and that's really what the beauty of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back to the feed just to see if there's any questions. I'm gonna mute myself. As I mentioned, I have a little bit kids here, they're watching videos and stuff, just to make sure there's no background noise. But I'm here, guys. I just wanted to do a recap for folks who've joined in. We're just waiting for the blockchain to get updated, and we'll see the transaction a little bit further. And if there's any questions, post them on the chat, and we go through them. So what we have done is so far we've shown the whole installation or downloading the image for 4.0. We have downloaded the blockchain point, and we've demonstrated that. We have copied it over and syncing now, right? And then we explain a little bit of how the security feature works. We have explained how to view your transaction, and out there, because public ledger is a key. You need to make sure the transactions are visible, but they're just they're not traceable. We have seen how the IP addresses from yesterday, the new transaction is not there. We'll continue to monitor and see if the new transactions will be available or not. Anyhow, I'm just going to mute myself. I'm watching the live chat, so if you have any questions, just please post them. Hey guys, okay, I'm back. So there's a question by gentleman or lady Pino Dillo. I'm guessing a gentleman, Dillo Locano. I do apologize if I'm pronouncing you wrong. So let me explain this whole concept in terms of um, why the stealth address cannot be generated. So late last night after I've done that video, this is where I started looking into it, and I, because there's a concept of the white paper which I just downloaded as well. I want to go through it. Is about a private version of the blockchain, right? And let me just download that. So there are two sets of the features. We just looked at the very first set of the features in terms of keeping your IP addresses, completely not visible, and then looking to check the transaction speed, how quick it was, and we also validated you can have multiple different wallets, and that's how you can, maintain your privacy of not disclosing your balances, right? Think of like a bank account. You could have different bank accounts. People have access to it. They can view it, but they're not knowing the transaction. Now, the second set of that is, so that's this part of right here, the Tor integration, how the communication works. I'm not going to read to the whole wall, this black paper or white paper. I would suggest you guys read it. Then there's another set of features that is integrated to this new wallet is this I2P integration and how the I2P transaction occurs. So it explains it. I think this is why, if you remember when we talked about my transaction not being visible on this web page that we had, and I believe, let me just make sure uh, why it's not available, that page in here. Okay, this one here. So that's one of the reasons that the transaction, the IPs are always showing, something different, and that's what this explain is, right? So different IP. So it's how the transaction are going to go. So what this gentleman or this person or whoever this is running, I'm guessing it's running, a node, an I2P node, and or running a client, but I'm guessing an I2P node it's running. So what happens is when the clients are sending transaction, the recipient is here. Before it reaches the recipient, it goes into, first of all, different clients. That depends on how many wallet connections are. So you can see my wallet has 8 active connections. So the transaction may go between 1 or 2 or 3 of those, and then we'll go through the bunch of these I2P nodes in sequential order. God knows which ones. And then from this cloud, the recipient will see. So if the recipient is running some sort of a transaction here, capturing or sniffing that transaction, would never know who actually sent. So the client A being the source, IP information is always not visible to the client B, in this case being the recipient. Okay, so this is already in part of the wallet. You already can see that the transaction is not happening. The second, and you can call this proxying, VPN, different names, but that's how it is. The wallet that I have on my Android, it uses the Tor transaction, and kind of very similar concept, and this is how it happens as well. So that's another way of client A sending it to client B. Okay. They also have Electrum wallets, which goes through. We're not going to talk about here, but that's another set of wallets. So for some people, was probably most generic people will not going to be running, this wallet, right? So this is mostly going to be for development or people who want to do mining or people, who are curious and stuff. The generic folks, most of the folks probably will be running this wallet set. And this wallet set, they go in full detail how the whole thing works, but this is instance on, does not require you to download the blockchain. There's no delays, there's no servers. You have your wallet key and you do back and forth transaction. Okay. Now, we talked about this already, the Android aspects of it. We talked about this. Okay. So now concept was about this. Okay. So in here, I think in this paper, it talks about, having some sort of a button or radio things to set this up. That's a little bit different than how it is implemented. The implementation, what I see here, as I've already mentioned and I've shown you guys, when you're creating a new address, you define that this address when I'm sending and receiving should be stealth, right? Now, I think again, this there is a bug, and then there I've already sent this out to the coder, to the developer, and they've confirmed the next release. There's already a fix. It's just that new release is not out. So today, in order to when you do that, it's supposed to create you um, a stealth address, which is not, right. So you have to manually today come onto the screen, and you have to run a command called get stealth address. Let me just find that. It's just right here. And then you can provide a name. So let's say we'll call it YouTube demo. Sorry, no space. Okay. So sorry, this thing is blocking my wall, but this is now the stealth address that is created, right? So if you now type in, um, you can list your accounts, and there are different sets of accounts. So you'll have, a regular wallet address, and you can have a stealth. So if I look at, let me, you can also import these wallets and export them too. There's a lot of new features on this CLI here, which I'm guessing the program in the back end is built for it. It's just a GUI, the wallet, and on Windows machine. It does not have all the feature sets. So there's more of features going to be available on this. So okay, list right here. So you can see, when I'm listing it, it will list that I only have, one addresses right there, and I'll give you the information. Uh, and that's how it will function. Okay. Uh, Sorry, guys, I had my little one came into to mute. So does that make sense so far? Is any feedback, question, or comment so I can explain that? Okay, guys, I'm back. I just unmuted. I see a good chat going on in regards to this. So let me just bring in the white paper. So there are a couple of feedbacks and comments. I guess how it does it work. And I think Keith kind of mentioned this. The concept is very simple. Everybody would create between A and B recipients. They'll create a stealth address, and then that will be known for them. And then based on that, they will send transaction to each other. And of course, the question is, does that traces back to the original regular address? And the answer is no. And that's the whole idea behind it. It's only visible to those two. So when you're looking at it, that transaction is not available. I mean, this whole thing explains this from page 8 down. I would recommend you guys read it in detail. There's also another comment in regards that the new release is just about Tor and I2P. Tor and I2P has been available in the previous release. It's just you had to install additional apps and systems and application. In this release, it's already integrated, so a regular user doesn't have to know about it. It just happens behind the scenes, which is a good thing. It's much more of a user experience. The new function on this is the stealth address function, which is already has been fixed. So if you guys on this repository, you'll notice there's a continuous development happening, right? So this new release had 54 issues, and I mean even probably more. So let's look at the number of issues that are done. So I think the one we were talking about this one right here. Somebody mentioned, and I said, yeah, that's what we identified. As you can see, yesterday we identified. People are already talking about it. This is the error message that you're seeing, and already a fix for it, and they have already validating and testing it. You can see continuously feedbacks and work is happening, and I got a confirmation as well. As you can see, it was closed, so I did send saying it's still happening, or is it closed, was it identified, was it be available, and there's a confirmation that yes, it has been fixed, and it's going to be just one more thing to do, and they'll be released. So that's why this is closed. It's just not released here, right? So but conceptually it works. The protocol, the feature set is there. You just have a bug in the GUI. They're fixing it, and it should be released, very very soon. Okay. And I'm recommending to volunteers. So once it is going to be available to me, I'll be the first one testing it. I'll give you guys feedback. But absolutely, it's a known issue, but it's not part of. It's not that the product doesn't work. It's just it has a bug in the current release. Let's go back to that transactions to see if we still find it in here. And I think that's pretty much most of it. I mean, unless we're still waiting for this to sync, so I'll wait for it to sync to receive the transaction, which should be not that far. The other question was, does this synchronization happens every time? If your wallet is constantly running, I've already explained that this is not the only wallet you should have. So there are several other options you can have to send and receive. But let's assume if this is the wallet that today is available with this protocol and you want to use, the synchronization only happens for the transaction that you have not synced into your wallet. If your wallet is always running in your machine and laptop, this transaction synchronization probably doesn't happen. Once you switch it on, it doesn't take that long. That's why when I switch off my laptop after a few hours, I bring it on. It takes around less than 10, 15 minutes. It synchronizes and you're up to speed. Okay. The reason this is taking a little bit time, 20, 30 minutes, is because we're synchronizing almost 8, 9 hours worth of information. So let's say an hour a day. So if you're behind 30 days, it may take some time. That's one of the reasons you will then go ahead and download a day old, and it'll be within the 30 minutes you'll synchronize. So every new day is a 30-minute transaction. Okay, so that's just to explain. There were some folks who were asking about it and they were not sure how that works. Let me see if there's any other comments or feedbacks and we can answer. Pino kind of explains they should revise again, guys. These white papers and black paper in this case. I agree with you. These are concepts first. Somebody writes them, and then they go through the coding, they'll evaluate it. So of course somebody has to go update it, and I'm sure somebody will update it. Who's going to do it? When they're going to do it? I don't have the answer. As I mentioned in the chat, I'm going to mention again. I'm not part of Verge team. I'm not compensated for them. I'm not an advisor. I'm not doing this any sense of investment. It's just, I come across this on Twitter. I saw a lot of hatred. It just, everybody was talking about this. I became curious. So my curiosity got me involved into this. Then I wanted to kind of see it for myself. So I downloaded the wallet, different versions of it. I even had questions. What's the difference with these version? You hardly find any information. I agree with you guys. They a better job could have been done to explain these products, different feature sets. Hopefully, people will volunteer to update. This is a little bit different than other, I guess, cryptocurrency projects where they have a dedicated team, they get paid, they're, they have 20-30% of the actual tokens distributed to the team, so the value goes in. In this case, it's a full open source community. The developer, people like me, nobody gets paid. So the only way you can compensate to people is folks like you guys. You can uh, you know assist, or you can either contribute, you can donate to their wallet addresses, and that's how they will be able to put some time and effort to do it. So I can assure you the development teams are very dedicated. The fact that they were working all New Year's Eve, all New Year's Day, continuously for 20-30 hours, that should tell you, I mean, there's a huge dedication. It's a real thing. It's happening. People are making it happen. And that's why I got involved, just to look at it and see, is it really in a scam, or is it a real deal? Is there a product out there? Is there future? And for sure there is, and I can see that. Will things improve? Absolutely. I mean, from a GUI, from a capability, from a improvement, these things all can be done very nicely, but the core background, the actual code works, and it's pretty solid. Transactions are there, capabilities to have multiple wallets, to be able to hide your source IP addresses. I mean, there's a lot of feature sets already into this, and more people are going to use it. It'll become much more faster. Things will become much more improved, and I'm sure there'll be more adaptation. More people will code into it, more people will bring in new ideas, and this, as a community, this can grow to a much better product. Just checking out to see if there's any comments. So he goes, the stealth isn't hiding your IP. Yeah, that's true. Stealth is part of the private ledger, which I mentioned. There's a bug on the GUI, but you can use the CLI to get that addresses and send and receive. So guys, I mean, again, I'm not expert in the field. I'm expert in terms of how communications are done, how security is done. Based on my personal opinion, I don't see any other blockchain or a wallet or a coin providing a speed, or different wallets synchronizing to a max wallet. I have capability to have separate wallets for separate payments, synchronizing them all together. I don't think any of them have it today. At least the top 2-3 that out there, Ethereum, Bitcoin, does not have it. So certainly, this is much improved and has a lot of capabilities for sure. Anyway, guys, we're almost there. About 348 blocks to synchronize. So we were at the start of this around, I think, 4,000 to catch up. So we're 99.98, almost there. I have sent a transaction already here, and then I'm going to resend the transaction back just to demonstrate that, and hopefully that would be the end of this this demonstration. Anyhow, if you have any other questions, anything else you guys want to see, please message, and we'll discuss it. Just gonna mute myself, just to making sure there's no background noise happening in this video. Okay, guys, I'm back. So as you can see, it is synchronized. The transaction that we did send is received, and 82 confirmations so far, and that's the transaction. We still didn't see it here, and again, as I mentioned, you may not see all the transaction here, but it would have been nice if you would have seen it. You'll see the IP address would have been not from mine. Now let's look at it in the blockchain itself. Okay, so here's an address and an address, and now part of this new address I created is this stealth address. So I'm actually gonna try right? And we're going to send now this transaction back. So I'm actually going to send it back to the address that I received. Sorry, not sent. Transaction sent. Transaction is still getting processed across 4 nodes. So again, if you go to the white paper and we talk about the very first feature, we're talking about here, okay? So when we're saying 4 nodes, that's what they're referring to, right? So today I'm connecting my wallet connected to 4 nodes. So it will go in through and then before reaches in the client. So that's how the IP addresses is not visible. Okay. And if I go to my wallet here, you see how quick it was? In any other currencies, you had to wait, what, 12, 15, 30 minutes, 5 minutes? It was almost instantaneous. It's not even confirmed yet, but the wallet shows that there was a transaction and it's there, okay? And let's look at the blockchain. Blockchain will not going to show it until there's a transaction. And you can see no results for it. So there was no confirmation on it yet. But from a receiving, point of view and sending point of view, the wallet's already seeing it, okay? And again, in statuses, we'll just wait a couple of minutes. You'll see once it gets confirmed, the blockchain will see it. Okay. Now, in terms of sending using the stealth address, it's going to be probably the same way. It's just there's a bug right now. So I do have an address here as well. As you can see, I created here. If I copy that address and we start sending through the GUI right now, it just shrinks it. Here's the address if you copy it. So this is what hopefully the next release allow it. It just does not. It's not the whole list. It just shrinks it. Right? But capabilities will be exactly the same. It will work exactly the same. It's just it's an address that is not part of it. It's a stealth. It's not going to be visible. So hopefully when the new release is out, I test it, I validate it, I can share that experience. But the concept is already there. It's working. It's functioning. It's just a matter of making it available to this wallet. Let me just check and see if there's any comments, and hopefully by then it'll be confirmed as well. So folks on the live chat, I personally agree with all the comment and feedbacks here. Absolutely could have been done much better. But certainly the technology is here. The technology is great. Is just this is a little bit of, I guess, the challenge with an open project, because there's not a dedicated team. They're not employed. They're not paid. So it depends on who contributes. And if you have a bad PR or you have a bad product team or marketing team, it may not be able to explain the features and product sets more properly. And that's probably what's happened here. Again, I don't want to but from a technology point of view, what this is about, what we're trying to demo, the technology is there. I mean, it works. You can see I just sent a transaction. It was super fast, in terms of, IP addresses. Certainly, they're not visible. In terms of the, wallet functionality is working. The product is there. So it's actually, there is an actual product. There's no more conceptual. And this is the transaction is already done. Now I want to show you this here. You see I have 2.4 in terms of my funds. If you go to the recipient, the address that I send it to, this only has a balance of 0.9. Okay, So this is another way of having several addresses and maintain it. So not only this is not the private ledger, but this is just a feature built into it to give you different addresses and peace of mind. Um, I think the private stealth addresses will be not available on the ledger as well. I mean, those will be just a unique addresses continuously, which is not traceable because nobody can trace this wallet address to my main address, as you can see. No information in terms of it. So if somebody looks at this transaction, my main wallet address is not visible to them, right? Which is, again, I don't think taking away this ledger is really the way to go, because you want to make sure transactions are there and available. That's the whole idea behind Bitcoin. It wasn't about keeping it centralized, keeping it blocked, because otherwise they could have just created a separate database and then run all those transactions and then keep that database away, and then nobody would have seen it. I think that the idea is to be able to have a ledger, but able to be providing alias addresses, and then that alias address is not tracing back to the original. But still, from a wallet point of view, from a regular user point of view, everything is happening behind the scenes. So a regular person sending, receiving funds does not have to worry about, what's happening, how come my wallet balances, or how am I going to add these accounts together and synchronize it. It just happens automatically. Yeah. Let me just see if there's any feedback and comment, and I think that's about it. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think we need to discuss any more in terms of product in the future. Okay, so guys, if you have any comment, feedback, any questions, post it. And that concludes the the live demo. No problem, guys. Again, as I mentioned, I'm just doing from a technology. I kind of like it now. So if you need to, have a question, so you want me to look at something, just reach out. I'll try to do my best. Of course, like everyone else, very limited on time, but I'll try to do my best to contribute as much as I can. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And I hope there's enough information for you guys here, and able to see what the product is to offer. I recommend each and every one of you guys to go ahead and download, the wallet, even if there is some bugs, just to play around with it, just to get yourself familiarized with the concept. Certainly read the black paper. It's available, on the GitHub. You just go into the website and just download it. Get involved. If you're a developer, you know how to code, you understand. Everything is open source. Get involved, look at it, review it, and more and more people will be able to, improve the product. Anyhow, thank you so much, and you guys have a very nice day.